Good afternoon. It's called the Agnipath scheme. It's a scheme which is fairly controversial. It does propose to completely alter the face of the Indian Armed Forces. It's a recruitment plan. It affects those who are not officers, so non-officer ranks. The scheme essentially means that those joining the armed forces in the rank of a Jawan or equivalent in the Air Force and the Navy will serve for a period of 4 years, and after that they will leave the armed forces. They'll be given a one-off amount of approximately 11 lakh rupees. After that, they're free to join the civilian sector. The bottom line is that if this does work, then the government would end up saving a great deal of money, which could perhaps be used for capital expenses. In other words, the procurement of new weaponry, because India's budgets for procuring new weapons have languished now for several years. But the plan itself has come under a great deal of criticism. In fact, today there have been protests in Bihar. One of the primary reasons is that employment is a key reason, a key incentive for many to join the armed forces at the rank of non-officer. And people hope, several people hope every year that there is approximately 80,000 across the three services who have joined in the past, pre-COVID numbers, that they can have actually a career which lasts for 15 years. Now, a lot of people who would hope to join the forces are told that after 4 years you may need to leave. So I spoke a little, in fact joining us now is the Indian Air Force's Vice Chief, Air Marshal Sandeep Singh. Thanks sir very much for being with us. One of the concerns, Air Marshal, which has been raised is that in the case of the Indian Air Force, you have very skilled tradespeople, mechanics, technicians, those who handle absolutely cutting-edge state-of-the-art systems. If the Indian Air Force trains up these individuals, can you then afford to lose them after just 4 years?
I don't think so. I think that's been an apprehension. And I'll confess, we have had a long discussion for over years actually on this, and we ourselves had this issue, but I think that all has been resolved. I can assure you that the skilling process or the training process for the Agniveers would be a phased and a progressive process. We are working on it, both air headquarters and our training command. So we will give them a shorter training, which will basically be a capsule on military training, which is essential as they join raw, and then certain trade or branch specific preliminary training, and we'll send them on field to use them along with a mix of experienced regular people. So therefore the detailed training, just to say that, or for more complex systems, aircraft, where they do deeper operational or maintenance activity, would be done only for those people who will join as regulars after 4 years of engagement as Agniveers. So I don't think so there has been an issue on this.
So Air Marshal, how confident are you on picking up individuals from technical institutes? Because the Air Force is increasingly a very, very specialized technical sort of branch, and therefore if you have these Agniveers for a short period of time, you would want them to come in with a certain number of technical skills. So how is the system being catered for that? For example, entry from technical institutes.
Once again, I don't think so there is a problem towards that. Youth, we have a rich, I think, demographic dividend, which is, we talk about it, and which is true. And people join for the thrill, adventure of services at that age. And when you're talking of technical institute, we are already in discussion with them that not only us who will tailor our training curriculum, those institutes will change, or I would say optimize, tailor their curriculum so that these potential Agniveers, as they join, they already come with pre-acquired skills which we want, and this will be done pan-India so that we get people from all over. So I think the quality of people coming into for this 4 years tenure, I don't think so it will suffer, and we are making efforts towards that it actually improves with the new technologies which they will learn before joining the Air Force itself.
Air Marshal, when will women be inducted? Because that's a key part of we already have women, of course, in the Air Force and the armed forces in officer ranks, but in non-officer ranks, this is a key part of the scheme. So when will we see women in the Indian Air Force in non-officer ranks?
Our chief has already said that our decision to induct them has already been taken, and we are in the process that how we will induct them. It will obviously, the way we did for officers, you know that Air Force by far has the largest percentage of women officers. Similarly, we will induct them gradually in a phased form in different branches in this category of Agniveers.
And when would that happen, sir?
I think that's a decision we will take very soon. So the discussions are on. This scheme is launched just a day back, and though we have been discussing on this, all three services actually on this scheme.
So one of the big questions about the scheme is, why would individuals, youngsters in this country, want to join as Agniveers or be a part of Agnipath when they are employed for just 4 years, when, for example, they could join the CAPF, the paramilitary forces, and have an entire career? Why would anybody necessarily want to work for just 4 years? That too without pensions.
Let me first tell you, I think salary or pension is not the only criteria, or I would say the primary criteria why a young person joins services. We all know that. I think I'm not just saying for the sense of serving the nation, patriotism, but the skill sets, they know what they get. The adventurous or thrilling life a youngster has, that itself is an attraction, and I think that will continue. Now, before you jump on the issue of 4 years tenure is too short, let me tell you, it goes both ways. There are some people who will join, obviously, who are determined and they'll work hard, that they get selected to continue in a regular pattern after 4 years. But we believe, and I think that enough survey has been done, that there are many people who would find this limited 4 years engagement more attractive, because they will go back with skill sets with the services, and that's unique. You all know that what skill sets they get, what traits of leadership, camaraderie, teamwork. When they go back, along with certain certificates which we give them, they will be job ready. So I think it will meet the best of both requirements. So I don't think so there will be a problem on that end.
What would the real attraction of joining the armed forces be? Because, I mean, if you're talking about a sense of adventure, that is also there in the Central Armed Paramilitary Forces, the CRPF or the BSF or even the police forces, where young recruits don't need to worry about changing a job after 4 years. They can serve an entire career, they can pick up a higher salary for as long as they work, and then they can pick up a pension after that. So why just work for 4 years now? Won't recruitment be?
As I have already said, that services, in a sense, I'm not putting down even the great work all the police forces, central armed forces do that. But the allure of service is something different. Again, the skill sets, the highest end of technology, even a youngster who's joining an Air Force, more so you know that who gets exposed to this technology? Aviation is booming, aerospace is booming. So even an airman, when he will be exposed to these technologies within this 4 years, I can assure you that. And with that skill set, as he goes out, he has a brighter future. So I think, and I think the rich demographic dividend which our country has of capable youth, there shouldn't be any dearth of very, very bright people joining as Agniveers.
So a final question, would it be fair to assume that the funds that the government saves as a result of having to pay less for salaries and for pensions would be translated into a greater budget for capital, the capex budget as it were, in other words the budget to acquire new weapon systems? Because perhaps more than any other force, it's the Indian Air Force which needs a massive infusion of funds for new defense deals.
I know this has been a lot of articles or people talking about that the scheme is for saving funds. To begin with, it is not. Even if you continue with the argument that it's pension related, but we all know that the benefit towards pension, if at all, would happen after 15 years, and in Air Force case it will be after 20 years. So that's too far distant apart, and I think we'll be a much bigger economy. That our vision is that, and I'm sure it will happen. And presently, you know that in the last few years, despite COVID, I would say last 2 years and even before that, there has not been a dearth of capital funds. I don't know how. In fact, we have had record increase in capital funds. And a large portion of that has gone to Indian industries in last 2 years. There was some emergency funding. We went through a border crisis. So actually government has given what is required for us. So linking these two things is not correct. I think what we require for our modernization, I'm talking of assets modernization, we will get.
All right, well, let's hope that happens. You've been looking to acquire 114 fighter jets now for, what, a decade plus? Anyway, thank you very much, Air Marshal, for being with us and talking a little bit about Agnipath and how you believe that the capabilities of the Indian Air Force will not be affected.